Hey, Psychology, Mr. Gallagher here to go over some AP FRQ best practices, and these apply specifically to your end of module FRQ post assessments. And again, I'll elaborate more when we work on more FRQ based upon the College Board applications. But these are all related to those. These will help prepare you for the FRQs on the May AP exam. And so I want to go ahead and give you an example from a past one we already took that's all complete on an FRQ, an example, what to do that's going to best help your grade and how I grade this. So, and you guys can remember from Module 2, Bio and Behavior, the FRQ was about Nicole riding a top field drag strut at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And it says, describe how each of the following can be applied to Nicole's experience riding the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the U.S. Be sure to provide a definition in conjunction with the application. A definition alone will not award the point. Now, make sure you understand what it says in the question has to be done. It says definition in conjunction with the application. So you have to have both. This doesn't have to be a textbook definition, but it should be a synopsis definition that shows your understanding of that term along with your application. Then it goes on to say, make sure you separate your points or underline, highlight, italicize, or bold. Sorry about that.
About 285.
Each point, concept, a term within your essay/essays. And so your terms are sympathetic nervous system, parietal lobe, amygdala, thalamus, frontal lobe. That's part A, the first part. So right there you can see in part A, the first part, there are 5 points. You should have 5 separate points within that main content area. All right, and what I recommend is you skip a line between each segment that relates to these parts. So this would be part A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 5 lines between each point. And then part B, the understanding of brain structure and function has been an ongoing process. Identify, explain how one might use the following technology to better understand Nicole's experience of riding the top field dragster. In part B, there's 2 points. This is a 7-point essay. Now, on the FRQ exam in May, it's all or none. You don't get 1 point. I'm a little more lenient. I will give you a point for an attempt, 0 for nothing.
About 292 could be dismissed.
Sorry about that.
About 292 could be dismissed.
And 2 for the correct answer. So you have 7 points, 2 parts. Again, separate, underline, highlight, showing the term within here. Okay, now, I'll take you over to the rubric.
All bus riders can be dismissed at this time.
Sorry about that. Very annoying.
All bus riders can be dismissed at this time.
All right, and these are the example of the essays I use to grade. So talks about what you need to get the point. You have to have the definition and then an application. Both. Parietal lobe, amygdala, thalamus, frontal lobe. All right, and you can see the sympathetic nervous system talks about engaging with stress, speeding up physiology, and then you go on to apply how that relates to Nicole's ride at Cedar Point. Okay, parietal lobe, sensory cortex, association areas. Again, you have to define, add an application with her riding that roller coaster, how it's working. Part 3, amygdala, explained especially fear and aggression, emotions. Obviously, that can be applied easily to a roller coaster ride. Thalamus, sensory switchboard to relay information to different parts of the brain. Same thing. Define, apply to the ride. And finally, the frontal lobe that makes our logical decisions, makes us smart, speaking, plan, judgment. You could talk about her planning on getting on the ride again, and she's never going to ride it again. When she sees it, contemplating riding it. So if you did those things, define and apply, you got correct on that part. That's 5 points. Last 2 parts, point 6, EEG, you had to specify electrical activity and apply that, how it can measure her brain waves if you had an EEG on her during the ride. Finally, the PET scan, point 7, the PET measures radioactive blood glucose. Has to be there, along with the application of how that would illuminate or be utilized to show what's going on in her brain before, after, or during riding the top field dragster. So those are some quick best practices from Mr. Gallagher for FRQs. And remember, underline, highlight, separate, italicize. You want to make sure you're pointing that stuff out to be easily addressed while grading. And these are an example of an essay FRQ I used. All right, and I'll have some more stuff for you guys in the future. Until then, Mr. Gallagher, I'm out.